Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Nervynx here, and I'm going to go over my 2025-26 out of school high list that I generated with the same prompt that Connor generated his list with. So first I'm going from bottom to top, and I got All Is Fair and Love and Bro Step, which of course was a big hit in early 2025 that I've just been coming back to every now and then, and that's the only reason it's on here. Sort of the same story with Sky High. This is a pretty nostalgic song because I would hear it a lot in YouTube videos back when songs from no copyright sounds were all over YouTube videos. They still kind of are. But yeah, this is a pretty nostalgic song from that sort of YouTube era in the late 2010s. And much like All Is Fair and Love and Bro Step, I've been coming back to it. Die Trying, this was popular for a very short amount of time. I know it's so I have the notes enabled, and it says for many songs on this list that aren't actually true. It says for several songs on this list that it was a regular revisit, but many songs on this list that the note suggests was a regular revisit wasn't actually regular revisit because I was into this for a very short amount of time and I never revisited it again. So the note saying it was a regular revisit is just wrong. Try It Out. This was a very mild hit, which got all the way up to number 4, even though I only listened to it 7 times the entire year. And that's just an indication of how weak my list was back in late 2025. This peaked at number 4 in December. That just goes to show how weak my list was then, as I've been telling Connor. Orlando, this really wasn't a hit at all. It was really just something that I would listen to. Um, it was over a longer amount of time than something like Die Trying. But yeah, I would listen to this song um, a couple times in a row on different occasions. Black Hole Sun, again, I'm surprised I've only listened to this 7 times because it peaked at number 10 on my list towards the end of 2025. It kind of reminds me of October of that year and just before Halloween. And we got Sucker Free, which this song's heyday was a little bit more so before the 2025 year because it peaked at number 1 in August of 2025. And I've heard this song, well, I played this song 7 times throughout the course of the school year, which was, yeah, August 13th through April 29th. So this song's heyday was a little before then, but I still listened to it a little bit. Yeah, Where's My Husband? This wasn't really a hit, but I was into this for a little bit. Same with I Don't Want to Do This Anymore. This is probably the shortest song on this entire list. Yeah, same sort of thing with Orlando. It was something I'd casually listen to, but never made any kind of push up my list. Nutshell by Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains. Honestly, I don't know if I'm saying that right. But my mom likes grunge music, and so I checked out Alice in Chains and a couple other different grunge artists, and I liked this song. Initially, I thought it was kind of long and boring, but it grew on me towards the end of 2025, like November. And Blame Me by Party Tricks. This one is recent. I can see it staying on my list. Right now, it's in the top 10 of my hot list. And I see it staying for a little while longer. It's very underground, but it has staying power. Long Nights by Stray. I still think this song is pretty repetitive in the chorus, but it's honestly grown on me. And it's at number 7 right now on my list. It's still lower than Liver Damage 2009 from that same album, which is at number 3 right now. But the song actually has been growing on me. The song has been growing on me. So I see Long Night staying on my list for quite a while longer. Loser by Beck. This song was a decent sized hit in October and November of last year, but I haven't really revisited it since. Stressed Out. Yeah, it's just a song much like these two that I come back to every now and then. Mercy. Again, this song's heyday was before the school year even started, much like Sucker Free. Golden Haze. This is also a nostalgic song that actually has been gaining traction, or was gaining traction a couple weeks ago on my list, but I think it's starting to fall back a little bit. Hell at Night. This was also a decent hit towards the end of 2025. The Remedy for a Broken Heart. I think this is definitely one of XXXTentacion's best songs. I think it's pretty underrated. I know I've only listened to it 8 times, but I do think it's a pretty good song. It was never a hit, but it was a good. Close to Me. This song was a hit for probably the shortest amount of time that any song was a hit this entire school year on my list. Because around February, early March, the song went into the top 10 in a time period where the list was pretty bad, but that's besides the point. It was number 10 and then it just went downhill. I was into this song for a good 2 or 3 days, and then all of its traction left after that, and it didn't peak anywhere above number 9 or number 10. Deja Vu, again, I've only listened to the song 8 times, but unlike the other songs I've listened to only 7 or 8 times, this song was actually kind of an anthem for when I started community college on August 23rd. No, I think August 23rd might have been the first in person day of the school year. But yeah, Deja Vu, I just remember listening to this on the very first day of school, just thinking, what the hell am I going to do? But yeah, this song was definitely an anthem for when I started community college in the first semester. Fearless. Again, it's a nostalgic song from No Copyright Sounds on YouTube that I go back to every now and then. Jumpman. Yeah, the song was a decent hit, mild hit in November. Starboy, again, I love this song. It's one of my favorite weekend songs. I come back to it every now and then. Putting on the Ritz. It was a decent sized hit. Actually, when I think of the song, I think back to my trip in Europe because I heard it in one of the stores there. I heard it in Edinburgh, Scotland, is where I heard this song. I was already aware of it, but I heard it then. And then I just got reminded of it around August when the school year started. And it was big on my list within the first few weeks of the school year, much like Deja Vu was. And Snow Day Milk Rumble again was a decent sized hit. It was a decent sized hit for around January. It was December 2025, January 2026, the song was at its peak. It was around the time I started using Stats FM on January 1st. Yeah, Tiramisu by Don Tolliver. I don't really care for Don Tolliver's stuff that much, but I always did kind of like this song. It was never really a hit, but I revisited it every now and then. Now we get to the songs with 9 plays. When I'm Gone was a solid hit. Noticed. Now this song got big in the emo rap era back in March, and I listened to this 9 times. And normally, if if the criteria, or I guess the criterion for a song to get big in March 2025 was the same as it was for September through December of 2025, I guess I should say March 2026. If the criterion for a song to get big in March 2026 was the same as my first semester of community college from September through December 2025, this song would have been a top 5 hit, but instead it was only top 20 because so many emo rap songs were big then. Catch Me Outside, this song hit number 1 on my list back in September of 2024, towards the beginning of my senior year of high school, and I've revisited it. Glad You Came. I'm surprised I've only listened to the song 9 times. It was huge back in December, around the time my first semester of community college ended. And Now or Never was a decent hit. Take What You Want was a hit in September 2025. Pretty's heyday was a little before the school year started, but it's grown off of me since. Streets by Doja Cat was a decent hit. Get Low, that first beat drop carries the entire song. That's all I really have to say about that. It also went away pretty fast. No Heart did kind of go away fast, but not quite as fast as Get Low. Xenogenesis is one of those nostalgic songs that actually has been making a run up my list recently. I think it's even in the top 10 right now. And I don't see it going away just yet. and Sauce It Up at number 63. Weirdly, this song, no version of the song actually made a run on my list because there are two different versions for whatever goddamn reason that that shot up my list, and they both got into the 20s at around the same time as my emo rap era back in March. But if there was only one version of the song, it would have definitely hit the top 10 in the emo rap era. This this song would have hit the top 10 if there was only one charting song that hit my list. Fade, again, I go back to it. Code Veronica, I go back to it. La Llorona, I went back to it, and it was actually a decent sized hit back in October. Really reminds me of Halloween. Burn, the song's been making a run on my list recently. It hasn't really had traction in a little bit. I think it's at number 11 right now. But yeah, No Flock. And again, this was from my emo rap era. So was Betrayed by Lil Xan, which is one of the quintessential songs of the 2017, 2018 emo rap era, frankly. That got big on my list in March. Yeah, Looney Kunja. That one's kind of self-explanatory as to why that's on my list. That was Pour Some Sugar on Me was a decent hit. Mr. Recoup unfortunately hit number 2 on my list all the way back in December, even though the song itself is actually pretty lame. It hit number 2, and I discovered this song on December 14th after I was coming home from an NFL game in Houston. I went with my family to see the Houston Texans play the Arizona Cardinals, and I was listening to the song on the way back. Something in the Way. I discovered this song through a YouTuber that reacts to football games pretty frequently. And Liver Damage. This is only at number 52, but it's huge on my list right now. Nowadays stayed for a little while. Cyber Ninja. Oh yeah, Nowadays was also from my emo rap era. I come back to Cyber Ninja. Solo. Choosing Text. Yeah, these were all just decent sized hits. None of them were number one hits, but they all made the top 15 at least. The Way Life Goes. This was never necessarily a hit, but I did listen to it over a very spread out period, so that's why it never became a hit. Middle was kind of a hit. First of the month, yeah. Lust was also a little bit of a hit. Not a big one though. I've been coming back to it. Animal I've Become peaked at number 3. Well, I guess that's why it only says I've listened to Glad You Came 9 times, because there are two different versions of it. I was about to say I could have sworn I listened to it way more than just 9 times throughout the whole school year. Yeah, I Couldn't Let You Go. Up until about last week, this was the only Stray song that really made a push up my list, and it peaked at number 6 back in November. But most of its steam was gained in October. I associate it with Halloween that year. I associate it with the 2025 Halloween mostly. Love Me Not by Raven Lene. I would have thought this would have been way higher, maybe not way under, but I would have thought that I listened to the song more than 12 times because it was pretty commanding number one hit for a while. EXO Tour Life, that one's been gaining steam recently. It's been getting steam recently, but I also don't really expect it to make that much of a run on my list if it does. Yeah, My Old Ways was a hit just before I moved to Stats FM on January 1st. So it was a hit basically through Christmas break, after the first semester and just before the second, in late December, early January. Clarity, yeah, the song was a smaller hit. Money Trees. The song's heyday was mostly before the school year started, but some of it transferred over into the school year in August and even early September. Got the Only, this one's huge right now. I don't see it going many more places than where it is. I think it's going to peak in number 3, which is where it's at right now. I love it. Small hit. The Seven Seas is nostalgic and I keep coming back to it. Homicide was a number 1 hit in October. Japan, yeah, that's big recently. The Man, that's also big on my chart right now. Ender and Gender peaked at number 2. Might have even peaked at number 1 about a month ago, but it's falling down my list now. And I think it's about to go away in about a week. Clocks, yeah, that song was a number 1 hit back in September, basically at the very start of the school year, along with Deja Vu and Putting on the Ritz. World in My Eyes was a number one hit uh, in November. My Jingle Bell Don't Jingle. My mom also introduced me to this Depeche Mode album, Violator, and this was my favorite song from that album, so that's why it got big. This was my favorite song from that Depeche Mode album, Violator, so that's why it got big. My Jingle Bell Don't Jingle was big in December 2025 because that Christmas was pretty dull in all honesty. So I kind of connected to the song more than I did before that. Soul Survivor was a decent hit. Somewhere I Belong, decent hit. You Ain't Know was also a decent hit in October. Yeah, You Was Right was a part of the emo rap era. So was Lean With Me, and so was All Girls Are the Same. Yeah, Wait For You. This song actually spent 29 straight days in the bottom half of my chart. It took a long time for the song to grow on me enough to actually make a proper hit or to actually make a proper run on my list. It was already making a run on my list, but it took a while for the song to grow on me enough to actually be a hit because it was spending a long time. It spent basically a whole month, like 2 days, 1 or 2 days short of a whole month in the bottom half of my chart. And then it finally climbed up and eventually peaked at number three just before my list moved to Stats FM on January 1st. It peaked at number three a few days before January 1st and New Year's Eve. Stateside, number 17, not surprised. Fuck Love. The song's heyday. Well, I wouldn't even say the song's heyday was around January of 2025, way before this school year. I just revisited it, and I actually happened to listen to the song more so than I did back in January 2025 when it actually peaked at number nine on my list. I listened to this song significantly more back in the emo rap era in March than I did in January, February 2025 when the song was big on my list. And it actually peaked lower. I think it reached back into the top 15, but that's it. Sao Paulo was number one. Streetlights is number two right now, and it could very well take the number one spot, unless I know the better was number one. Yeah, that was number one. She Knows was a huge number one hit, and it refused to go away for a good while. I'm surprised Three Nights is in the top 10. It has kind of, well, it has gone away. Uh, it might make a resurgence during the summertime, or it might be a background summer song, but it was pretty big. I didn't think it'd be top 10, though. Hooligans, of course, had a pretty big resurgence. Drapetomania. I didn't think I listened to the song 20 times. And I'm also surprised Pop Out by Polo G and TJ is as high as it is, given that it only peaked at number four in the emo rap era in March. But yeah, Drapetomania was a number one hit back in September. I associate the song with the times in September just before October, when my first semester of college was really starting to heat up and I really got used to everything. Yeah, The Race was a pretty huge hit, so that's not surprising. It took a while to get to number one because it was hovering at number two for a while. Just below Changes, which is number three. The Money Longer, that song still hasn't really gone away. It took a while to grow on me enough to really be a hit on the list, much like Wait For You. Yeah, it eventually hit number one and it still hasn't fully gone away. The Way I Are was number one, Folded number one, and then, yeah, Rhinestone Eyes, that's not a huge surprise at all. I think songs like Love Me Not, which is, yeah, it's way down here. Love Me Not should be higher. And there are a couple songs that definitely should be higher, like Glad You Came and Sauce It Up, which both would be higher if they both counted as one song and not two separate songs. But yeah, it's whatever. I think overall this hot list does represent my 2025-26 set of 2 semesters of community college pretty well though. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.